Alright guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome to the backyard. This is my spa. I've had this about a year, and many people have watched the video where I did the wiring for this. I wired this up, the panel, ran the wiring to the breaker and everything. So I've had a few people reach out that wanted to know what kind of chemicals, what kind of things do I do to maintain the spa. So I want to go through that in this video. We've had this about a year, and I feel over the course of the year I've tried a lot of different chemicals, a lot of different systems, and so now I have it dialed in to where I don't have to really worry about the chemicals as far as which ones I'm using. I have kind of a system and routine, so I want to share that with you. But first I want to talk, this is the Bullfrog spa. This is the R series, it's called the R8, so it's a 8'10" square. Internally here, if you can see, it has 4 seats in the side. It's got two, you could probably fit 7 to 8 people in this is kind of what it's designed for, but it also has jets down on the bottom that kind of do feet massaging. One feature with Bullfrog spas is they call them the jet packs. These actually, these are modular. They come out and you can put them in the different spots because these seats are different heights, and so if you like one seat better than the other one, but you like this specific jet pattern, you can take this out and you can swap these around. So that's kind of a cool thing that Bullfrog does. But let me show you the chemicals that I use and show you some of the things that I tried that I like or don't like when it comes to spa maintenance. Okay, as far as the oxidizer or the chlorine is concerned, this is what the spa company, I bought this directly from the manufacturer, and this is what they recommended to use, and this is what I've continued to use. So this is called Spa Guard. It's their enhanced shock. And when I first got the hot tub, they said just add, you can see there's a cap here. They said to add just kind of a rounded cap full once a week to this and it'll be fine. So I did that. And after a couple weeks, I was getting very cloudy water, very murky water, and then I couldn't figure out why. And so I started doing this more regularly. And I tested the water with my strips. I use these strips on a regular basis, probably once a week. I test the water just to see what my pH, the chlorine levels, the alkalinity, just to check to make sure I'm good. And my chlorine levels were so low by only adding this once a week. So now what I've changed to is I probably add, I need to add today, so every day or every other day, I probably add about that much to the bottom. Now this is about 520, just over 500 gallons. So I use about that much, and I add that much every day, and then if it's used heavily, I'll add a little bit more, but I add that much on a daily basis, and I just throw it in. And that way it's getting a smaller dose but more regularly instead of just one big dose once a week and then it tapers off and by day 6 there's none. So that's my routine for my chlorine. This keeps my chlorine level up. It also helps clear the water. This works really well. And then I want to talk about this stuff here. This is the silk balance stuff. This is something that Bullfrog recommended to use, and there's these pods here. Actually, I still have some of these left. There's these pods. They said throw one of these in once a week. It kind of like makes it softer water, silkier on your skin. Well, the problem with this stuff, after about using this for 3 or 4 months, the problem with this was when you turn on the jets. So if I was to turn on the jets right here on full blast, so if I'm using the silk balance and I do that, the foam would be all over this whole spa. This makes the water foam really bad. What I'm doing now doesn't really cause the foam as much, and so this I no longer use. And so what I'm using instead of this is I'm using this stuff here. I found this on Amazon. It's called Ion RX, and this is recommended for my spa size to use 2 cups of this per week. So that actually equates to using 1 whole jug, which I think this is, I don't know if this is a gallon or not, but 128 fluid ounces. I use 2 cups per week of this, which, so I use about 1 of these jugs per month. But instead of adding this like 1 time per week, what I've ended up doing is I add at the same time I add my chlorine, and that is I just dump in, I'll just dump in about like that much. And so over the course of, if I do that 3 to 5 times per week, that gives me about 2 cups of this stuff dumped in there. And I feel adding it more regularly on more of a daily or every other day basis helps it. Now this stuff's supposed to help kind of helps sanitize. It helps sanitize the water, but it's meant to do that with a more with less chlorine. So it doesn't need your chlorine levels don't need to be 4 to 5 parts per million. It can be 1 to 2 parts per million, and it does that. So it helps make the water a little bit smoother. It's not as irritable on your skin. And this is a good, this I found to be a good replacement rather than using the silk balance stuff. So these are the 2 chemicals that I'm using on a regular basis, and that's all I'm using. I will very occasionally use some clarifier if I need to clear up the water a little bit, but this is maybe once a month, once every 2 months. That's not very often for this. Every week I'm going to be using these the test strips. I'm just going to test the water on a weekly basis just to make sure my levels are good. Since I've switched to these 2 chemicals, I don't test as much because I can tell every time I open up my water. I mean, you can see how clear the water is. It's always like this all the time. It's summer right now. I don't keep it as hot. I'm only keeping it around 100 to 101 degrees right now, but in the wintertime I'm keeping it closer to 104. And then I might probably using a little bit more in the wintertime because it's colder, and so I might add a little more chlorine, a little more of this Ion RX. The other part of maintenance that I do regularly on a once a month basis is I just wash out and clean the filters. So I just take off this lid here, this panel comes off like this. I have this little floating little sponge thing that helps soak up oils and things like that. But you can see here's my 2 filters. You just unscrew them like this, unscrew a cap, and pull this out. And I just spray this out. Every couple months I'll rinse it with some solution and then spray it out. I'm actually about to replace these. So they said replace these on a yearly basis. So I'm going to replace these here soon. And I also replace the water. So stay tuned to an upcoming video. I'm gonna put new filters in. I'm gonna drain the water completely and then refill it. And I do that about 3 or 4 times per year as well. So that's kind of more of the more long-term use maintenance on the spa. But the daily stuff, I'm just putting the chemicals in. I'll occasionally get my little vacuum. I have a little vacuum that I'll like go around if there's anything like, you know, any debris, dirt, leaves, grass, anything's gotten in here. I can get it out with my little vacuum that's a little battery-powered one. That works pretty good. This is covered all the time. When it's not being used, it has this flip-down cover, so the heat's kept in, the dirt, wind, everything's kind of kept out of it. So it stays pretty clean. I don't have to vacuum it very often. I will vacuum it when I drain it, so stay tuned to that for that video. Okay, guys, so hopefully that gives you some information on maybe spa care. If you're curious, if you're looking into getting a spa, maybe what's involved. There's really not that much involved. Pretty low on the maintenance. Just remember adding chemicals. One thing I do, if I'm going to leave on like vacation for a week or something, I will turn it to vacation mode where it keeps the temperature at like 80 degrees. It still filters the water. At that level, it doesn't use as much chemicals, so I'll add a bigger dose of both of these, and then it'll be fine for a week when I come back, and I can just take it off vacation mode. So it's pretty easy. Really have enjoyed this. Like over last winter and fall when it was colder, we really got a lot of use out of it. It's really nice when it's cold. We don't use it as much when it's as hot in the summertime, but I'm still going to drain the water in this in an upcoming video, so stay tuned for that. Be sure to see the link down below. I'll leave a link to these chemicals here if you're interested in doing this kind of system. It's worth trying. I found them to be effective, and they work pretty well. But be sure to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks.